Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and very excited to share with you today the process of a quantum breakthrough. And you might be asking, what is a quantum breakthrough? A quantum breakthrough is where we literally rewire your neurology. We get rid of what is no longer serving you, all the stuffed down negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, and shame, all the limiting decisions that are holding you back. All of humanity shares one of four core wounds of unlovable, unworthy, not good enough, powerless, and any others you might have come up with along the way, such as, not smart enough, not tall enough, not skinny enough, not pretty enough, not, cancel, to all of that. Because you are enough, and yet running in your unconscious mind, outside your awareness, are these limiting decisions and all of this stuffed down negative emotion that is negatively impacting your adult life and your ability to move forward and step into the person that you were always meant to be. Maybe you're feeling stuck. Maybe you have an inner knowing that you're not playing all out, that for some reason you're choosing to stay small. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing here on planet Earth. We are here to fulfill our mission, our purpose, to never stop learning, to step into our best version of ourselves. And yet, our childhood programming is holding us back. When we are born like the hardware of a computer that has no software installed on it yet, the very essence of ourselves. And then over the course of the next 7 to 9 years of our life, it's download all the software that we need in order to be able to smile, sit up, crawl, walk, learn language, and sometimes multiple languages, learn the rules of the house, the rules of school, the rules of society, and all of that programming gets installed into our unconscious mind. And our unconscious mind has a lot of jobs to do called the prime directives. And in fact, I did a podcast earlier this year all about that, and I will link it up in the show notes for you. Because it has a lot of jobs to do, the most important of which is keeping you alive, despite what you may be doing to your body, it takes the path of least resistance. Whatever's easiest, it will do. In other words, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Therefore, this programming that was downloaded when we were young children, in your unconscious mind's wisdom, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so your inner 5-year-old is literally running your life. And until you recognize that it's broken and that you can fix it by rewiring your neurology, your unconscious mind will keep running that program. So if you're coming up against a brick wall and feeling stuck and wondering why you're doing all the things and everything your coach is telling you and it's still not working, it's because we have to change the programming, i.e. rewire the neurology. And the only way we can do that is in the unconscious mind, because that's where the programming is in the first place. And just like when you get an update on your phone and you update your phone's software, the first thing it does is gets rid of all the bugs and viruses. And that is what we do as well, which is why I talked about we release all of the negative emotions. We release all of the limiting decisions. Those are the bugs, those are the viruses, so that we can create the space in order to rewire the neurology and then put in the suggestions of what it is that you actually want now in your adult life. And there's a set process that we take you through in this quantum breakthrough process in order to rewire your neurology. And the beautiful thing is that it doesn't have to take long. In fact, it's literally about 12 to 14 hours of coaching done in 2-hour blocks. It can be done all in one long day, although I prefer to do it over the course of a couple of weeks, ideally inside 30 days, because we're cracking open your neurology and we want to do all of the work in that 30-day window and then close up the neurology and allow it to settle. Now, the other thing that's really important to understand here is that when I guide clients through a quantum breakthrough, I'm not doing anything to them. I'm not doing anything for them per se. I am doing this work with them, meaning I am the guide. Their unconscious mind is the coach, and they just need to show up, be willing to play all out, be willing to follow my instructions and directions in order to go through this process. And keeping in mind that the unconscious mind is the 90% of our mind, and the conscious mind is only 10%. The conscious mind is the home of willpower, and the unconscious mind is the home of imagination. And we can imagine anything when we set our mind to it, which means we're literally limitless. And yet we're taught to be in our conscious mind, that's the power of our mind, and we do all of our thinking and our problem solving, etc. there. That's only the small part of our mind. And as I said, it's the home of our willpower. And we know willpower runs out because the gyms are full at the beginning of January and they're not nearly as full at the end of January. And if we're always relying on willpower to change our behavior, to get ahead, to create a new pathway for ourselves, that's where we get into burnout. That's the hard way. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of tasking, a lot of accountability, and a lot of willpower, and the willpower runs out. And then what happens? Guess what? The old program is still running. Life happens, and we end up doing the original behavior because that's the program that's running. Whereas when we actually work with the unconscious mind and the imagination to rewire our neurology, we set a new program. And then, yes, there's tasking, and we put that into action in order to deepen the neurology. Because when we first rewire it, it's just like a little bunny trail. And then we have to keep taking that action, the new action that we want, in order to build it into a 2-lane road, a 4-lane road, and eventually it becomes an 8-lane highway, so that the new neurology just automatically happens versus going the old way. And once we have that new neurology installed, life can happen and we don't go back to the old behavior because we no longer do that. We have new neurologies and new pathways running. And so I'm sure you can understand that you cannot change the programming in a place that it isn't or doesn't exist. So attempting to change the program in our conscious mind using conscious coaching doesn't work because the program isn't in the conscious mind. We have to rewire it in the unconscious mind using our imagination. And that is literally what a quantum breakthrough is. And so let me just take you through the process of a quantum breakthrough. The first 2 sessions are a detailed personal history because we need to understand the problem. The thing is we don't need to understand what the problem is. In our work, we want to understand how you do the problem. Because when we understand how you do it, then we can shift the behavior. And we're all about shifting the behavior. And I also want you to know that all learning, all behavior, all change is unconscious and in that order. So when we're working together, we are paying attention to that and making sure that there's learning for you, and that's the new neurology. There's behavior, to follow through with that in order to get to the change that you are looking for. So we take a detailed personal history. And this is the last time that you share your story and what's gone in your life from the perspective of a victim. Because in this process, we're also shifting the story into how did this happen for you? What did you learn from it? So that you can look back at it with gratitude because it got you to where you are now and is helpful in moving you forward into who you are becoming. The other thing that's key here that we're looking for is we're looking for the root problem, not just what we call the presenting problem. The presenting problem is the answer that you give when I say, "Why are you here?" That is the presenting problem. That's the problem that you're consciously aware of. And what we say in this work is if you can name it, that ain't it. It's part of the problem. It's not the root problem. And so this detailed personal history allows us to uncover the root problem together, which has been running in your life outside of your awareness. And now we're bringing it to your awareness. And then the next step of a quantum breakthrough process, we get into assessments because we want to show you where you started and where you end up, right? And so we have assessments in the beginning and at the end so that you can see how far you've come in addition to the shifts that you actually feel in your own mind and body. So we start to assess the strategies that you are running that are triggering this behavior, despite the fact that you know consciously you don't want to do this behavior and yet you still keep doing it. And that's because there's a strategy running in your unconscious mind that has you keep doing it. And that unconscious mind is running that strategy because it is getting a need met. And let's see if we can then rewire it to have the need met in a healthier way for who you are now. And again, we first have to understand what the strategy is that you're running at the outset. And this is always surprising to clients. Always surprising when we get the strategy. They always say, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea." Yes, that's right. You have no idea because we got to the unconscious strategy. And that's what's been getting in the way. And now that we know that, guess what? We can shift it. That's the power of this. The other thing that we do is we elicit your values for both the presenting problem and the root problem, because your values are your deepest programming in the unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind orders your values, and it gives juice to the values that it deems to be the most important. However, if that's based on who you were as a 5-year-old, that's obviously very different to who you are now. And if you're a business owner and you're wanting to start a business and your breakthrough has something to do with business, you don't have money or clients on your values list, or they're not in the top 5, it's going to be really difficult for you to make money and attract clients in your business because your unconscious mind isn't prioritizing the need for that and therefore isn't allowing the resources to come into your life for you to be able to focus on that. So we elicit your values. After that, we go through a contract process just to make sure that you fully understand that the change work that we will be doing is holistic. It's not medical in any way. And just, we have a full client disclosure and agreement. So that's kind of the admin side of things that we go through at that point. And we also set up here evidence procedure. And what I mean by that is, what behaviors will you be doing after the breakthrough when you've achieved the goal that you want to be achieving that are different to what you are doing now? So that you will know when you start doing those behaviors, oh my goodness, look what I'm doing. I'm doing these behaviors that I've never done before. Wow, that really shows me the change that has happened in my neurology to trigger me to do these behaviors that are helping me get where I want. So all of our work is based on behavioral change and the fact that you can no longer do the old behavior because we've rewired the neurology to get you to do the new behaviors that you want. And we put that into the contract as well because we can guarantee our results to you. As long as you do the tasking, the homework that we assign, which of course is moral, ethical, and legal, as long as you do your end and show up and ensure that the little bunny trail becomes an 8-lane highway, we can guarantee our results to you because we are shifting our behavior. And as master practitioners, and I'm a trainer of NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, we're the only coaches that can actually guarantee results to our clients in writing because of the fact that we are literally rewiring neurology in order to change that behavior. So after we've come to all of that agreement, we then get into the actual change work. And the first change work that we do is our timeline therapy session. And our timeline therapy is such a beautiful, gentle process where we're working with our imagination in order to release the root of the anger, the sadness, the fear, the hurt, the guilt, the rage, and the shame, one by one for each of those 7 negative emotions, releasing the first time that you experience that in your life. Because when we release it at the root, it's like pulling a pearl off the end of a pearl necklace. It will actually have all of the other emotions attached to that because they're stored in the unconscious mind in a gestalt, like a string. And you pull the end off and the whole necklace unravels. So all of the other emotion, all of the other anger stored between that first experience of anger and now also gets released. It is so powerful and yet gentle. And you don't even have to talk about it. You don't have to tell me anything about that first experience. I do not need to know. All you tell me is what you needed to learn from that experience. We ask the unconscious mind with very specific scripting and wording, ask the unconscious mind what it needed to learn so that you can get those learnings. And at that point, the unconscious mind goes, perfect, my job's done. You got all the learnings you needed to get. We can release the anger from your body. And at that point, we then move on to the next emotion. So we do all of our 7 negative emotions and any others that you may want to release that have come up during your intake. And then we will also release the top 2 to 3 limiting decisions that are holding you back from stepping into your magnificence so that you can then step into it. And the unconscious mind is so wonderful, so powerful, and so fast that just during that one timeline therapy session, it very often does a lot of the change work for us. So it may now already have us running strategies differently. And so now we go back and assess, can you still run that old strategy that was causing you the problem in the first place? And 9 times out of 10, you can't run it anymore. There's a new strategy in place that is actually now working for you instead of against you. However, if you can still run that old strategy, that's okay. We have more tools that we use to change it and install a new strategy for you based on what you actually want. And then after that, we re-elicit your values again as well to see, has the unconscious mind reordered them during that timeline therapy session? And very often it has. And sometimes there's a little bit more work to do. Maybe we need to reorder a couple of the values that weren't on the list before might now be on the list. However, they're a little bit too far down the list. And so we will reorder them together so that the values that you need most in your life for who you are and what you are achieving right now and focused on are getting the most juice. After that, we run another breakthrough in and of itself called prime concerns. And what that is a little breakthrough that allows you to discover your soul's most unmet need so that comes to your awareness. And we can now have that met need that need met in your adult life. From there, we will do at least one parts integration, because as we go through life, we have all of these choices to make, and we get it in our head that we can't do everything. And, it may be there's a part of me that wants to be this kick-ass mom, and there's a part of me that wants to be a kick-ass businesswoman, and I can't do both because somebody put that in my head that I couldn't do both. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And what we do is we bring the parts back together so that our neurology recognizes I can be a kick-ass mom and a kick-ass businesswoman at the same time. And what is that role model that I'm giving to my children, etc.? And when we bring our parts together, we now actually have access to all of the resources that were being hoarded by the individual parts before, and we couldn't access. And so we really thought we were limited, and therefore nothing was working. We were stuck, and we were feeling torn between the two parts. So a parts integration is a beautiful, beautiful technique. It is such an honor to guide people through a parts integration and witness that transformation. And once we have completed our parts integration, then what we do is we set about determining our SMART goals, and then we use the quantum for SMART goals as well. We put them out into our timeline, out into our future, so that we are bringing in all the resources together, the power of the universe, the power of our unconscious mind. We're not just consciously setting goals. We're using all of it, putting them out into our timeline on the specific date by which we want to achieve those goals in order to ensure the success of achieving those goals. And that is a quantum breakthrough process with SMART goals. And then finally, the very last step, we get to hypnotherapy. So really what we're doing is the first step is the timeline therapy of cleaning up the past. And then we use the parts integration and assessments of our values and assessments of our strategies, etc., using NLP techniques to address all of that. And then that's about the present. Where are we at now? And then with hypnotherapy, we look at the future. Where is it you want to go? What is it that you're wanting to achieve? Let's now give suggestions to our unconscious mind in order to help us achieve that with greater ease and success. So bringing in the SMART goals into the hypnotherapy process as well. And so this is a really well-rounded way of working with our unconscious mind in order to take us from where we were stuck and launch us into this adult version of ourselves with new strategies, new values that are aligned with who we are becoming instead of having our inner 5-year-old running our life. And all of that in just 12 to 14 hours of coaching, including releasing all of the stuff down emotion, including trauma, without even having to talk about it, to step into your best version of yourself. So I absolutely love this work. I love guiding clients through this process and watching them literally spread their wings and fly. It's like that process of, the butterfly and the cocoon and being in the goo. And yes, some of the time that you're working with me, you're in the goo and it doesn't feel that great. And that's okay. I'm here to support you through that process, to kick your butt if I need to, at points where you might want to give up and run away. And that's just your mind trying to keep you safe because it feels uncomfortable. However, here's the thing. Growth is always uncomfortable and never convenient. Let's face it, sitting in our comfort zone, that's comfortable. And we're not growing when we're sitting there. Doing this work is allowing you to grow and step into your best version of yourself. So if you want to know more, send me an email, reach out to me on social media. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, or simply come to our next Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop. We run them monthly, and they're a great starting point to start learning about your unconscious mind, the other 90%, so that you know how to tap into it and access your full potential. Thank you as always for listening, for wanting to learn, and for sharing this with someone that you know needs to hear this episode. Your unconscious mind is powerful. It's the other 90% of your mind, and yet you're not even taught about it at school. What if you could access the other 90%? It would be like driving the highway in 6th gear instead of 1st gear. That's what you're doing when you only know the tools of the conscious mind. the 10%, you're going through life in first gear. Are you ready to ramp up and go through life in sixth gear? Learn the powerful tools of your unconscious mind, healing trauma, clearing anxiety in minutes rather than weeks, months, and years? Join our next Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop so that you can start to learn the power that you already hold within and the tools to access it. Look for the link to register in the show notes.